So good evening, everybody, and welcome. My name is Marc Nutter, and I'm the Conservation Program Director here at New Hampshire Audubon. I'm super excited that you chose to spend your evening with us at our Pollinator webinar series brought to you by New Hampshire Audubon. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that this presentation is streaming to you from our state headquarters in Concord, New Hampshire, which is located within the site of the ancient village of Pennacook in Nadakina, which is the traditional ancestral homeland and waterways of the Abenaki, Pennacook, and Wabanaki peoples past and present. I would like to honor and acknowledge with gratitude the land and waterways and our ancestors, the Alnambak, or human beings, who have stewarded Nadakina throughout the generations for thousands of years. We're honored to continue this stewardship of these lands, providing opportunities for all people to form connections to the natural world through our programs and wildlife sanctuaries around the state. And I invite you to learn more about the Indigenous presence on the land you occupy by visiting the website native-land.ca. Here you can see and explore territories of Indigenous people and get connected to resources to learn more. And for a more in-depth understanding of the Granite State, please do check out all the educational resources that they are building at indigenousnh.com. So here at New Hampshire Audubon, we envision a world where people lead happier and healthier lives by connecting with nature and finding inspiration to conserve and enjoy the environment they love. And we do that through 4 programmatic mission pillars. We do a bunch of environmental education. This week was the staff training week for our summer camp staff, outdoor educators. We also do school programs, webinars like these, and adult programs as well. We conserve and research species in peril, from small birds to the largest of raptors. We also own and manage 39 wildlife sanctuaries around the state for wildlife habitat and human recreation. And finally, we advocate for sound environmental policy in the New Hampshire State Legislature. And we couldn't be here without the members and supporters of our organization like you. So if you're a member, a volunteer, or supporter of New Hampshire Audubon, just thank you. We seriously cannot do what we do without your support.
Okay. It's wonderful to have Marc back to give the webinar on iNaturalist training tonight. We worked together for probably a year and a half on these webinars, and it's really nice to have him back. So Marc was instrumental in making the last 2 years of webinars possible at New Hampshire Audubon. Just a little background, Marc moved from Wisconsin to join our team as a grant writer in January of 2019. After working as the Facility and Operations Director of the Upham Woods Outdoor Learning Center in Wisconsin. And in 2021, Marc assumed the role of Director of Conservation Programs, as he already mentioned. And in this position, Marc oversees our science, education, lands, and center staff. And that includes Massabesic, Newfound, McLean, all of our programs and strategic priorities. In addition, he continues to manage our program grant administration and grant fundraising efforts, although hopefully there'll be someone stepping in to help him out with that, all of which support these major program priorities within our organization. And I, for one, am grateful for Marc's leadership and vision and benefit from his supervision. So it's been really nice for me to have Marc step into that role. So thanks, Marc, for taking the time tonight to share your knowledge of iNaturalist with our participants. Much appreciation.
Thanks, Diane. And what a deep dive. Did you go on my LinkedIn page?
I did.
Oh, yeah. It's been a wild ride, and I'm so grateful to be a part of this team, and grateful for you, Diane. Because I wouldn't be here if you didn't ask me. And this is a really fun topic for me. And my first question of a poll question, let me see if I can launching the poll is, what's your familiarity with this thing called iNaturalist? There are early adopters to any new technology. iNaturalist was kind of first brainchild in like 2008. And then I think it launched in 2011, right when I was graduating college. I was one of those early adopters. I utilized the iNaturalist platform on a bike tour around the lower 48 states when I was 24 and 25. I say that because it took over a year to go around the country. And I was using iNaturalist with my first ever smartphone, documenting incidents of roadkill and submitting that to a roadkill database and project that was trying to use users' observations to identify just wildlife corridors or choke points or wherever kind of they could change traffic patterns to help reduce the mortality of species. Awesome. So 12 out of 13 of you have answered the poll. Intermediate and novice. Awesome. So I'll show you the results. This is you're in the right spot. Intermediate to novice. If you, I love the answer. A novice. What is even iNaturalist? So hopefully you clicked on some of those links in the event description. To make an account online, it takes like 2 steps. You need an email, and again, that you can do that. You can multitask. You can listen to me and be online, and just go to iNaturalist.org, and then it's a button that says sign up, and they need your email address. You get to make your own username, and you get to make a password, and you have to agree to their user agreement, and then I think it sends you an email to get started. And for this, BioBlitz and iNaturalist in general, one of these is the best way to use iNaturalist by far. They've made the app super user-friendly, and this thing has everything you need. Cameras, a GPS, and a connection to the internet. I say that kind of, but I need to clarify. iNaturalist app also works when you're out of service, and it just saves the observation to your phone. And so if you didn't want to use your mobile data, you could turn that off, make a bunch of observations with these photos or sounds, and then when you get back home or at the library, you can upload that using Wi-Fi. So I'll give a brief overview of iNaturalist, and then I'll show you kind of how I do it with my phone, and I'm happy to open it up to more questions. But it's great to see that a few of you have already made an account and downloaded the app. That's going to be your first 2 steps. Make an account, download the app, and then I think you have to sign in to the app using the account. And you could do that all from your phone or kind of with your computer, because I like to type on a computer and then use the app for everything else. So when you go to iNaturalist and you click on the Explore button, you see this big old map, and you're like, okay, well, what are these squares? And you're like, oh, okay, well, it must be kind of these species. And if you start zooming in, you get more and more clarity on what those squares actually are. They're actually points. And each one of those points is an observation. And it's color-coded by kingdom, Plantae, Animalia, fungi, Protista, something else. And I think insects have their own color. But if you zoom in further, you can see this is our state headquarters. The McLean Center is right here. So I'm standing right here, and you can kind of see this outline of our trail network. which is great. That means people are staying on the trail. But where does all this information go? I love iNaturalist for a record of my own personal observations and explorations. I've also used iNaturalist in this kind of explore mode to figure out where I might want to go, especially if the organism that I'm interested in seeing is stationary. So for a specific example, my wife and I are really interested in sea stars, but we couldn't find any in New Hampshire. So we went on to iNaturalist and searched in sea stars and saw a map of where they were observed with iNaturalist. So in that way, you can capture and reflect on the experiences you've had as a naturalist and also plan future explorations. But it doesn't stop there. All of these records are also being fed into this huge database called the Global Biodiversity Information Facility. It's like the clearinghouse of a bunch of biological and geographical information. And it's not just iNaturalist, it's eBird, if you've heard of that. It's eButterfly. It's from actual scientific research, people's master's and PhD theses, all pulled together into one place. And it's also historic. It's actually really interesting that this is an international network and data infrastructure funded by a bunch of world's governments. And it's aimed at providing anyone, anywhere, open access to data about all types of life on Earth. But don't worry, if you think that your misidentification of a warbler or a worm would skew this giant index of biological information, don't worry, because sites like iNaturalist only upload and sync up with GBIF if it's a research grade observation. And I can tell you a little bit more about that. But I wanted to click over to show you what GBIF looks like. So this is their website. They updated it since I made that last slide. But look at this, wait, this would be 1,000, this would be million, yeah, trillion records. And what I wanted to scroll down and show you is this is much more than iNaturalist data. This is a bunch of data, and it goes all the way back to the year 1600, if you could see that on the bottom lower left hand of your screen. And so as we zoom in to where we are, or where I am anyway, you can start to see Concord, and now the outline of Turkey Pond. And does that look familiar to anyone who's hiked here before? That is the trail outline, or the outline of our trail system, which is really similar to what we saw on this slide. So that's just to show you that iNaturalist pushes information to the Global Biodiversity Information Facility. And it's actually really interesting. My wife is a cartographer and a GIS analyst for the Nature Conservancy. And she's also done projects looking at Guyana and their wildlife species diversity. And she was able to pool records for like 1,000 different species that occurred in Guyana to be able to create species distribution models. It gets really complicated, but she was trying to figure out where the highest biodiversity is in conjunction with how to build out national parks to protect that biodiversity. So I just say that as an example to encourage you to make those observations, because it is actually really useful to researchers around the globe. So let's zoom out or focus in one of those two on iNaturalist. It's really quite simple. It's a who, it's a what, it's a when, it's a where, and it's evidence of what you saw. So the best observations have all of those components, a photo of what you saw, the time and date of when you saw it, where you saw it using your GPS, who you are is obviously your account, and then what you saw is one of the coolest things about iNaturalist. I want to be a great naturalist, but if I'm honest, I'm mediocre at best. So the coolest part of iNaturalist is you can just take a bunch of very clear and good photographs, and the community of iNaturalist will help you identify it. And there's even some machine learning that takes place, and it will suggest a species identification to you almost in real time. So for my next poll question, I've got two of them. What type of device are you planning to use to make your observations? And what is your mobile platform? There's no right or wrong answer. But there are easier answers. Like everyone that's answering mobile phone, that's the easiest thing. Tablet is probably equally as easy. When you get into just a camera and a computer, it really is way more difficult. So just another couple seconds if you haven't answered that poll question that should be on your screen right now. And it's almost a 50-50 split between Android and iPhone. But that's okay. I have an Android and Diane has an iPhone, right, Diane?
Correct. I have an iPhone.
Sweet. So we got our bases covered. What does... So clarifying question, before we get into this, well, let me get into this and then we can back up if folks have questions about how to create an account. But those of you who've created an account, these are the instructions for both an iPhone and an Android on how to make an observation. And it's really just opening up the app, finding that plus button or the observe button, and it'll give you an option to take a photo or upload a photo. And then you'll upload a couple photos of that organism, and then you tap what did you see? It'll give you a suggestion, and the when and where should automatically be included because your phone is grabbing that information as you make the observation. And then you save it. And if you're offline or have airplane mode on, it'll just sit there. And then when you get into a spot for Wi-Fi, it'll upload all of that information to your account and to the global database. And it's just a little bit different. Android, it says sync, and iPhones, it says upload. So now I want to talk, and I'm going to step us through that live on my phone, but I have to get there first. And if you want to search for in iNaturalist the app or on your web browser for 2022 BioBlitz, or just write in McLean and you'll see two projects, and I'll show you that. right now. So on the web browser version, it would be under community and then projects. And you can just search McLean and 2 projects will show up. The first is the New Hampshire Audubon McLean Center Pollinator Habitat, where Diane made this project with her garden volunteers, and they are building out pretty much a site-specific field guide for the pollinator habitat. This is both the native plants that we plant and maintain, and also any visitors or pollinators to those plants. And that project, and you can join both of the projects, please do right now. It's great to be a part of multiple projects. The first one that I'm talking about is across all time, whereas the 2022 BioBlitz is a shorter window of time where we want to take a snapshot. And I believe all of the observations from the BioBlitz will also be connected to the pollinator habitat specific field guide, but not the other way around. And that just allows us to have a rolling, how do I say this? Like a scoreboard for how many species that we can see during our BioBlitz. So again, that's in community and projects. And once you join the project, it'll show it in your recent projects. So you can see that I had a recent project in 2017 where I led a BioBlitz at my last job in Wisconsin at Upham Woods. And then this is the project page for the BioBlitz here at the McLean Center in 8 days, 9 hours, 37 minutes, and 30 seconds. So that's going to be really fun, and I'm glad you're preparing yourself to join us then. Now, I'm going to join without video on my phone. Wi-Fi or cellular? Okay, I'm going to mute you. Okay, this is super weird. I have a screen here, and now a screen on my hand. So I can share this. Folks, I've never done this before, so we are testing the limits. Share screen, start now. Okay. Hey, that's my phone on my computer. So wherever iNaturalist is on your phone, you just click on the button and it pops up. It's weird because I can hear an echo. Where are you, Diane? There you are. And there I am. All right, is everyone's phone in their hands ready to make an observation? Okay, I will take that as a yes. So if you click the ... button at the top left, this is kind of your profile page. And what I do is a new observation. You see that down at the bottom. And it pops up. Like I said before, you can make an observation with no media, but it doesn't make much sense for our purposes. So you can either take a photo or choose an image, record sound, or choose a sound. Since I'm in my office, and I already took a photo earlier, I'm going to use the choose image. But during the BioBlitz, you'll just press take a photo and it'll go right into your camera. You can snap the photo and then it'll come right back to this observation. So it'll pull from your photo gallery, and I'm going to choose this one. So that was a photo of just the flowers, And if you noticed, I had another image of some of the leaves. So that's one of the things that you should try to do, is take multiple angles and close up and both far away as well. So now I have at least 2 photos in there. It pulled my time that I took the photo, but it didn't take my location. So I can click on the word location, and it thinks I'm in the Atlantic Ocean. And I found that the easiest way to do this is just to zoom in where you know you took the photo. And I know that, oh, there's the building. I know that that shrub is right there. And then the check mark button at the top is how you say, yep, that's where I want it. The add to projects is going to be really important for the BioBlitz. And so after you've added that project, you should be able to click on the 2022 BioBlitz. But I don't think it's going to let me because it's not ready. It's not open to accept responses. I can't click on, hey, Diane, can you open iNaturalist? And am I still a part of that project? I think I accidentally.
You should, it's not a closed project, so you should be able to add it to. I'm trying to share it to mine on my phone also.
Okay. Well, the other cool thing I can show you right here is the what did you see? And here it'll take your photograph and compare it to other photographs and suggest visually similar or seen nearby. And if you click on the images or the words of that suggestion, it'll open up the photograph and a little map and description. It'll even show you the seasonality of when those observations were made and the taxonomy. This plant phenology tab over here is also really interesting. Not all observations include that information, but you can see that there's way more flowering, the green dots, it peaks in June. And the gray in the background are all observations without that phenology information. So do you all think that that's mountain laurel? It has similar leaves and similar flowers.
It is mountain laurel.
It is. All right.
Yes.
So let's select it. And then the green check mark button at the bottom will save that observation. So if you go to my observations, you can see that it's waiting to upload and it's syncing. You can see projects on your mobile phone as well. So yeah, it does say that I'm joined. And I think the little eye will give you more information. And that makes sense. There's no observations yet because the window is still 8 days away. But you can also look at the other pollinator habitat one, where, hey, look at that. Isn't that mine?
Yep.
Aha!
The one before it was mine because I also got a photo of it and was working on it at the same time you were.
That's great. Yeah, it's in full bloom. It's gorgeous right now. So you can see that on this project, it's really building out that site-specific field guide. And so the RGs over some of those images stand for research grade. And that means, I think 2 people need to agree upon the identification, and it needs one very clear photograph to become research grade. And as soon as it's research grade, that's when it goes up to GBIF and is synced up with that online global database. All right, I've got another one to walk through. So you can add a new observation here, or you can be on your profile and you can see that green plus button. And this one, I'm going to choose another image. And this one, I wanted to show, because this was an actual question I had. This was in my community garden. So I have that photograph. And I'll choose another one. This is our summer staff training earlier this week. And then I'll choose this one. And that was on the 13th. And my location was the Birch Street Community Gardens. There's work. I think there's the gardens. If you click on the bottom right-hand button, you can switch it over to satellite view. And you can say, oh, that's the tree that's across my plot. That's my garden neighbors. And this plant was right there with the check mark button. And what did you see? You can click on that. And I didn't mention this, but if you already knew what this was, you could just start typing the name, either scientific or common name. And so this was actually interesting because, you know, it kind of looks like that, but maybe it's this. But then you can see that, no, that's a different flower. And there's some examples of that. And you can also see from the map, it's not normally up where the observation was made. And it's kind of past the peak of observations. So I'm going to say it's not a snapdragon, but I'm going to look at, so you can say it's the genus foxglove. And, you know, that does look really similar. Or you can go down to species and say it's purple foxglove. And honestly, either one is awesome, because that, like I said, that community of iNaturalists will then go in and be like, oh, I think it's this, or I think it's that. So I'm confident that it's a foxglove, and I'll just keep it at that genus level. And I don't need to add it to a project because it was just a wild plant in my garden. Nice. So it's the mountain laurel has been uploaded. You could always go back in and edit it using the edit button at the top. And I don't understand. Oh, see, now it has a green check mark because it was automatically pulled to that one. And I can't put it on the BioBlitz because we haven't started it yet. But it's important for you to see that as an option in your projects folder. So Margaret would like to know how to join a project like the McLean Garden Center Pollinator Garden project or the BioBlitz. Where did that go? Here we are. So you can do this on your phone, but I'm going to show you how to do it on your web app or web browser. You can do it on your phone. All you need to do is either on your phone under, yeah, you can't see that, projects or community, the drop-down menu for community and then projects. And then the easiest one, because there's 2 projects with the word McLean in it, just MCLANE, and enter. And then you click on one and then the other of them to join them both. And yours will say join, where mine says leave right here. And same with the BioBlitz. Oh, nice. There's 5 members. That's like 4 more than we had 36 minutes ago. That's a great teacher check-in. let's see. DWS Bio 2018, Kim, Mirza ASM, Wolf Lover. I thought it's almost like wool flower, but no, Wolf Lover 15. Nice. Welcome to the team, everybody. Can you use the C star? Yeah, of course. Do you use something like longitude, latitude? No, so it's actually even easier. So you up here at the Explore button on iNaturalist. So again, these are all of them. And I was talking to Diane before we started the webinar. Look how many observations there are right now. 103 million observations in iNaturalist alone. And in April of 2021, when I made the slide deck, there was 59 million. So just in the last, what is that, 14, 15 months, they've almost doubled the amount of observations there are on this platform. So anyway, that's just like a moment of wow for me. And Diana and I were thinking like maybe it's partly because of the pandemic of like people wanting to explore locally and kind of understand more about the world around them, which is great. So under Explore, you can search for a species. I don't remember exactly what we searched for. Sea stars and brittle stars. So it's under a subphylum that I don't know how to pronounce, but when you click that, there's all of a sudden a lot less dots. So it's only showing the sea stars and brittle stars in that subphylum. And so actually our example took us up to, I think we went north of Wells. I thought it was unsuccessful. So let me just start by saying our search was unsuccessful when we did this 2 years ago. But I want to say, I don't know where it was. I think we went even further. Oh, this kind of sounds familiar. I think we went out here.
Mark, you need to get out to the Isles of Shoals.
Oh my goodness. Well, I can't drive to the Isles of Shoals.
I know, but you can take a boat.
That's how you can use that to hone in. Is that here? Oh yeah, look at all these observations.
Yep.
So you can click on them. Oh my, what? Are you serious?
Serious.
Whoa. All right, I know where Anna and I are going.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
You can go into this observation. You can see, oh my goodness, this person has made 43,000 observations. There's some really wild people out there that just get really jazzed about seeing things. And also friends of ours like Stephen Lamont, like just goes on and it seemingly like makes fills in people's observations. He has like, I think the equivalent amount of just like identifications. It seems like that's what he does because he has so many. It's wild.
It's actually nice if people do that because you need that if you're going to jump up to research grade. So it's nice if people take the time to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, for a really specific example of that, I can show you mine. So this is my profile, and sometimes I don't even make an observation. Like I don't even try to make an observations. And our friend Molly was kind enough to say, Mark, I think that's a plant, because I didn't even fill out plant. I was probably pretty lazy. This is in our community garden again. And so right here, even though I just uploaded a photo, location and time, with nothing else, someone jumps in and says, hey, I think that's a plant. And then you can go back and you say, yeah, I agree. That probably is a plant. And that will help hone in how other community members interact with that that observation. So some community members, you can get into the pro kind of expert level where you're like, I want to know all of the plant observations or spider observations because I'm really knowledgeable about that stuff. And so it'll ping you in certain ways. I don't know how to do that because I don't do that, but I know that that is possible. So this observation still needs ID up here at the top, but at least we know it's Kingdom Plant Day. And I probably have like 20 of them like that. I do, thanks, Molly. I agree that this one's a plant too, but it still needs ID. So if anyone knows what this weed is in my garden, it's one of those things where it's like, I put a stick in the ground thinking that it was something that I wanted, but now that it's up, I'm not quite sure if it's just a weed or I can pull it. So that's how I use iNaturalist sometimes.
Leave it up for a minute. Leave it up for
again?
a minute. I said just leave the photo up for a minute. So see if
oh, you're gonna ID it?
I'm gonna see if I can.
Ooh, here you go. It's got these like funny little things coming out from where the leaf attaches. I think it's a goldenrod of some sort. What, do you have a dichotomous key over there, Diane?
No, but I have another app.
Oh, you're taking a picture of the screen.
I am. Canada goldenrod, or it's one of the goldenrods.
Canada goldenrod. We'll do that in iNaturalist.
Yeah.
I mean, so the basics again, go to iNaturalist.org, create your account, download the app, log in on the app, and then it's really those quick, easy buttons. You'll have to allow the app to know your location and view your photos, and join the project. And join the project before that Saturday. And but that said, we'll have a refresher that morning, and we'll at least have somebody in each group that is competent in iNaturalist.
Yeah, and people can join the McLean Center Pollinator Habitat project before the BioBlitz if you want to take some photos out there and just kind of practice.
Yeah.
But as Marc already mentioned, there'll be someone in every group that's competent in iNaturalist and able to answer questions and share things out. And one of the beautiful things about iNaturalist is you do not have to know what you're taking a photo of. That's what's behind it, that it's a collaborative and community project that allows us to learn a lot more about the habitat. So no one should be afraid of just taking photos and uploading them to iNaturalist, even if you don't know what they are. Because that's one of the important things about it.
It's so awesome because then depending on your email settings on your account, it'll actually email you saying, hey, so-and-so thinks your observation is this. And I mean, I would say half of my observations on iNaturalist have been identified by another person, which I think is so cool and powerful and encouraging me to just take pictures but take really good pictures. So that's one of the things that we actually should watch together because it's only 30 seconds per minute long. Down here at the bottom of every page there's a help button. And then there's a bunch of video tutorials. And this is the thing I want to show you. So it's just a minute long. And I think this was produced a couple years ago. But this is what I was saying is really get close. Like this one is okay. But then when you get the detail of whatever it is you're taking a photograph, that is when another person can look at the photo and identify it from the photo, but not too close, as they remind us. And I tried to model this in my observations, is the different angles and different components of the organism that you found. And one thing that I found that will help you get sharp and in focus, so that one no one's going to be able to identify, but that one maybe so. One of the best pieces of advice I want to give to you to make clear photographs is actually turning on your flash. You're going to think I'm crazy, but even in direct sunlight, if you turn on your flash, that extra boost of light will crisp up and like have like a part of the organism that might be in the shadow will be illuminated, and you'll have 1,000 times better photographs. So turn that flash on even in the daylight. And on this help, yeah, go ahead, Diane.
There was just a question, just so we don't close up before we answer Don's question.
Is this open data? For example, if people all over my town did a BioBlitz, could we later extract that information somehow? Yes. As long as when you make an observation, I'm not going to be able to show you. There is, let's see if I can do this. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so so pretend that I have a photo in this observation, a species name, a date, location, any notes that you might want to add, like this is my backyard or whatever. This is where you would say public, obscured, or private of the location of your observation. So by default, all observations are public, but say it's either a really rare flower that you don't actually want people to see, you could obscure it, which I think means like the lay public can't see it, but if it's research grade quality and it's uploaded, the researchers would be able to see it. And if it's private, it's totally private. Like you don't want people to know that you have a super awesome pollinator garden in your backyard because you don't want them to come and take photographs there. So this is where you can change. Oh no! Oh, there it goes. The location privacy, captive or cultivated is like when you're you click that if you are at a botanical garden or something. Diane, do you think ours is a cultivated garden? Do you click on that? I wouldn't.
I do not.
Because all of ours are native.
They're native plants, and so no, I don't click on captive or cultivated. Certain things that we might take photos of around there maybe would be considered cultivated, and they would probably come up as such if you took the photo and tried to put it into the project.
Yeah.
But we don't click on that. And so Don asks a follow-up. Also, can my backyard be a project?
Can your backyard be a project? It's kind of I think it can. So if you wanted to make your own project, it's under community, and I think this is how you do it. I just did this the other day. Community projects, and then
So I'll just jump in for a minute.
Please.
Because when I was setting up the Pollinator project, there's a lot of information about projects, and they discourage
Yeah.
creating a project unless there's a good reason to create a project. So Dawn, if you wanted to identify everything that's in your backyard, it would still show up at that location. It
Mhm.
wouldn't necessarily have a project name, but because it's geolocated, everything that you took in that area would show up with the name of your town or the name of it. It just depends on how closely it identifies it. But that's probably your best bet. I think it's going to be
Yeah.
harder to try to create projects unless there's a real specific reason that you want to have a project. Because the idea behind a project is to have it a community-based project where multiple people can join
Yeah.
and participate and collect data.
Yeah, it's like there's a specific start and end time. There's this leaderboard function, which is kind of really fun. But yeah, like Diane was saying, if you just went to the Explore and zoomed into your neighborhood, and I'm just gonna pick this neighborhood. Oh, of course. There has to be observations here. Yeah, see like this. Oh, look at that, mass Audubons.
Yeah.
They've got a bunch of them.
But anybody, so Dawn, anyone who is in your yard taking photos, the photo would go to that same place. So you said this way my husband can also add to it. Your husband can definitely add to it. So anybody
Yeah.
who's taking a photo there, it would show up in that location. So he would have to be on iNaturalist, but beyond that,
Yeah.
he could add to it or anybody else who was taking photos.
Yeah, like this person was just like in their own yard, like, I want to know what this stuff is. And I'm sure this isn't associated with the project, but they can see it both in their users, your profiles, like observations, but also if you just zoom in, anyone, like Diane is saying, that made an observation in this location will show up in this Explore. Cool, and thanks, Don, for adding the pixel cell phone camera at the macro level instructions in the chat. If everyone has seen that and has a pixel phone. Well, I hope this was useful. It was sure fun for me. Thanks for inviting me, Diane.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, Mark. Really appreciate it. And people should feel free if you do have questions to email. I'll open up my email. I'm guessing Mark would be happy to get questions as well. So if anyone has questions in the next week or wants to try out just taking photos, you can take them anywhere. But if you want to come to the McLean Center and take some photos there and get them into the project that's already open, that would be great. And love to help out. And like we said, Saturday, there will be people there who are very comfortable with iNaturalist. So nobody should feel uncomfortable at all if you're new to it.
Yeah, and I'll be there one-on-one instruction for the start of the BioBlitz, and yeah, someone else will be. But yeah, I hope it's inspiring. It's totally achievable, and we hope to see you at the BioBlitz. And again, to sign up for that BioBlitz, I should show you that real quick. So again, this is for the project page on iNaturalist, but we also want you to sign up on our events calendar, which is nhaudubon.org/events, and RSVP at the BioBlitz right here. And this is kind of the schedule. And here's actually the registration. And I could drop this into the chat as well real quick. For those of you who want to just sign up right now. This is an office forms. And so the questions are pretty straightforward: first and last name, email address, so we can communicate with you. And then in the morning, we're going to have an expert led field trip, and you choose one of these, and you can choose another one, hopefully a different one, for the afternoon session. And then some other questions, but those are the two most important ones. So we get you in a group that meets your preferences. And on that page, on that event page back on our website, those quick links to the help page and how to make an observation and those identifiable photos videos that we watched is right there. And then otherwise, we've got some other events that are coming up. We're going to be at Fodie's Tavern this Saturday with our red-tailed hawk, drinking beer. Should be fun if you want to come down. We've got a Resilient Raptors the final webinar in our 5-month-long series wrapping up next Tuesday. In this pollinator webinar series, The Secret Lives of Wild Bees, with Wilhelmina Soroka and Diane DeLuca. And who's actually the presenter that night?
Nick Dorian.
Nick Dorian.
A researcher out of Tufts. So that should be a great presentation. And then I'll just share out, since that will be our last pollinator webinar this spring summer, that Ptolemy is going to join us in the fall.
That's right.
To wrap up the series on October 27th. So don't miss that. It'll be great. So there are a couple good ones coming up.
Yeah, and that event's already in our calendar. I'm pretty sure you gotta zip around up here and click on October. But at the end of the month, we'll see you on the Saturday. And if you want to do a double header of the weekend like I am, I'm then gonna go on Sunday morning over to the Kenston Devon Wildlife Sanctuary and hike around with our friends Phil Brown and Stephen Lamond to talk about the forestry that took place there and how our breeding bird populations have rebounded. Rebounded is the wrong word. We did manage forestry management practices to increase the population numbers of those species. So we created habitat and they came back. And Steve and Phil Brown, obviously our past lands director, helped steward that project. And Stephen Lamond was actually the person that did the breeding bird survey last spring to inform that management practice. And we also have a photography workshop at the Mass Music Center on the 29th of June, if you're interested in learning more about taking photos. But I know that photography workshop is after the BioBlitz, so just remember, take multiple photos with multiple angles and turn that flash on. Anything else, Diane?
No, that sounds great. Let me just make sure there's not any questions that we might have missed. It looks like we answered most. And again, I encourage you to reach out and to practice in the next few days. And it's just a learning process and we all learn together. So we're really excited that there are some new folks who are going to be looking at the pollinator habitat. So thank you for joining us tonight. Hopefully you'll join us for some of these other great things coming up. And thank you, Marc. Really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
For sure. It was a blast, and I get jazzed about data and animals and plants. So this was a perfect merging of all those things. Yeah, so my challenge to you is go out, use iNaturalist, make 5 observations before the BioBlitz. And again, join those projects, and we will see you on Saturday the 25th, if not sooner.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.